The only thing, no browsing activity happened. The home page came up, which was msn.com. It's a very common home page for Internet Explorer, especially this time. However, there were no searches that were done at that time.
And the exhibit that we were talking about that displayed that activity, was exhibit 1041, and we'll just, we're going to go back to that exhibit.
I have that exhibit as 6B in my records. I don't have the exhibits in front of me, so I'm not sure what the court exhibit is.
It's at 1041.
Okay.
So we're going to display that.
Thank you.
We go to Attorney 4, I believe. What are we looking at here, Mr. LaRock?
Okay, so this is the equivalent screenshot for the HP Media Center for what we saw on the e-machine. So if you remember on the e-machine, there was a drop-down, the Google toolbar right up here, that was filled with hundreds of past searches that had been run. On the HP, there's a big difference here in that the Google toolbar is empty. And there's a good reason for that. This computer had been factory reset in probably, I believe it was January 23rd. From some of the activity that I saw, the programs that were used, it seemed pretty clear to me that it was Joseph who had performed this factory reset.
Objection, that calls for speculation.
Overruled, he can explain the reasons for his opinion.
Your Honor may be heard as to who he ascribed that conduct to.
I understand the objection. He can state his reasons for that opinion, subject to a motion to strike.
Activity that I saw immediately following the factory reinstall, factory reset of the HP Media Center showed the Firefox browser being installed along with Chrome, along with some program utilities that I had seen that had been used on the e-machine in context with Joseph's use in the past. The context of what I saw on the HP Media Center was consistent with Joseph's activity that I had seen in the past, so it led me to form the opinion that Joseph was doing this work at the time.
I'm going to object and move to strike, as he does not know who was sitting at the computer at the time, and therefore it's speculation.
Overruled against reason.
Now, is there anything else you want to point out about this page?
Yes, there is.
Sure.
As I mentioned on the HP Media Center, there was no browsing activity. There were no Google searches that were run or something along those lines, as was just done on the e-machine moments ago. However, that is consistent with the Google toolbar being empty on this machine.
Okay. Then, if we go to the very next page of the same exhibit. What are we looking at here?
This is, so if you recall, the Google toolbar activity is stored in a file with this name, google2eweb.w. This is the same file for the HP Media Center. Highlighted here is 0 bytes, which means that it is an empty file, just confirming that there is no data, there is no search history that's stored here.
And there's a series of times at the bottom. Can you explain those?
Yes, I can. So, looking at actually all of the timestamps, here, with the exception of the file created timestamp, they all read February 8th, 2010, 2:09 a.m. So that would have been immediately at the end of when the user had been in front of the computer, had launched Internet Explorer, but not done any activity. So simply having the browser open uses the Google toolbar, which would have caused this file to update itself at that time.
Does the e-machine have additional activity after this 2:09 time frame?
There was a pause, and then there was additional activity at approximately 3:55 a.m.
And what was that activity?
The E-machine or the HP?
on the e-machine. Thank you.
I'm sorry. Was there further activity on the HP?
No, there was not. There was no further activity at all on the 8th after this time period.
Okay, so if I understand you correctly, on the e-machine, we had activity at 2:08, 2:09 a.m.
Objection misstates his testimony.
There was activity on the e-machine at 2:08 time frame?
Approximately. It was just a few minutes of activity on the e-machine.
Yes.
Thinking back on it, I want to say more specifically, I think it was 2:05 to 2:07 a.m. And then the HP was 2:08 a.m. That's what I recall.
Okay. And did the e-machine have additional activity after that 2:07 a.m. activity?
Yes, the computer was shut down for the very, very last time at 3:55 a.m.
Do you mean it was shut down as in a computer automatically just kind of falls asleep and shuts down, or did a user push the off button?
No, a user, per the logs in Windows, a user affirmatively shut down the computer.
Okay. Was there any activity on either of those devices on February 8th after that?
No, 3:55 a.m. was the last activity period on either of the machines.
Okay. I want to talk about going back to the e-machine, and not specific to the 8th or the 4th or anything, just the e-machine itself. Did you find records on the e-machine that were that had to do with the fountain business as it pertained to Chase?
Yes, I did. Joseph kept many records related to the business that they ran together.
Okay, so I'm not gonna go. How far back did those records go in terms of years? Were you able to?
I'm not sure that I determined a clear start date, but I saw very detailed records from 2007 through the end of 2009.
If you could look in your packet at R3C, and then identify the exhibit on the back of that.
Okay. Okay, 3C is 1028.
Okay. Do you recognize that document?
Yes, I do.
And where was it found, and what is it?
The document is a spreadsheet that I discovered in the e-machine under a folder structure. Joseph was pretty good at keeping a well-organized folder structure. Fountains /EIP/Chase/accounting.
Okay. And if we could display that exhibit, 3C.
I object as to hearsay.
Overruled.
This is the first page of that exhibit?
Yes, it is.
And what are we looking at here?
This is pointing out the information about this spreadsheet. You can see highlighted is the file name, Jobs, Joseph, 2007, 2007. XLS means that it's an Excel spreadsheet. And over here you can see the beginning of the folder path that I was talking about, where this was located. So on the e-machine, under Fountains, EIP, Chase Accounting. This also has the timestamps of this, showing that this file, let's see here, the content of this, the file was created January 28th, 2009, and the content was last modified February 3rd, 2009.
Okay. And we can go to the next page. Was this the content that you saw for this file?
Yes, it is. As we were scrolling, I also noticed a highlight that we missed.
Okay. We can go back to the first page. Yes.
I wanted to point out that within the file itself was recorded the author of the file, which is detailed here as the creator, and the who is listed as Giuseppe, and a contributor, which basically means the last author, or the last person who modified this document, and that is also listed as Giuseppe.
And if we go to the second page, is this the content for that file?
Yes, it is.
Okay. At the top, there's a series of columns. If you could just point those out, what those are?
Absolutely. So the first column is date, particularly a series of dates. Client with names, which would be clients per what it says there. Then we have amounts, which appear to be dollar amounts for these clients and for these dates. And then we have a column called Chases, dollar. And then payment 1, payment 2, payment 3, payment 4, and finally a balance.
Okay. So if we look at the file title on the previous page that we looked at was Jobs Joseph 2007, is that correct?
That's right.
So, and then the first column after the client name would be the job total, correct?
That's right.
And then it chases money.
That's right.
Okay.
Yes.
And then there's a series of payments. Do those series of payments equal the amount where it says chases money?
Yeah, I believe that's true. I didn't check that for every single instance. But in general, I did review the way in which this Excel spreadsheet is organized. And in order for there to be a zero balance over here, the spreadsheet worked automatically. The payment amounts had to total up with Chase's dollars. Otherwise, you would not have a zero balance over here.
Objection, that's speculation that equation is in that spreadsheet. He's just looking at an
Overruled.
So, on this, if the job total is, let's say just take the first one, is $40,450, Chase's money is $25,000, and then those series of 4 payments after that total that $25,000. Is that correct?
That's correct. I know that from having studied the actual spreadsheet itself, as well as just a bit of quick math here. 10,000 plus 10,000 plus $3,615 plus $1,385 does equal $25,000.
And it seems like there's several jobs in 2007, ending with the last one. If we can scroll down to December 19, 2007. Is that correct?
Yes, that's correct.
Okay. And then at the bottom totals for the year, if we could just maybe blow that up a little bit. So, yes, job totals for the year would be 330,375.
Correct. That is the sum of the column above.
And then Chase's money for that 2007 would be 204,666.98. Is that correct?
That's right.
Can you point that out in the column?
Yes,
Okay.
right here.
and then there's a series of payments, correct?
Correct.
Okay.
So again, for each of these, this is the totals row, so each of these numbers is simply the sum of the column above it.
Okay. So from this, okay, so what is the next section outlining? We have a date, I see there, the first entry is June 21st, 2007, and it says next to that 7,500, and then it says Seabach, and then it says Cal Pumps. If you could just use your pointer, so I'm not sure if we can blow that up a little bit.
Sure.
Okay.
So this section, although it doesn't have as nice of headers to identify exactly what everything is in here, there were dates, there are amounts, appear to be dollar amounts, and then some of the descriptions, well, you know, most of these descriptions do not particularly signify much to me. Some of the descriptions in this and similar spreadsheets say things that are more descriptive along the lines of, for example, payment to Chase or money in Chase's bank, items like that.
Okay.
That's what
Objection,
signifies.
misstates the exhibit
Overruled,
and assumes facts not in evidence is what I'm seeing.
overruled.
And then going back to the total section, way to the right, it says 0.00.
That's right.
And when you added up those figures, did it show that in terms of the job totals, what Chase was owed on those jobs, and then the amount of payments that were made to Chase, after all was said and done, they squared up for the year?
Objection, hearsay calls for speculation as the author.
Objection sustains, calling for speculation and conclusion as phrase.
Does the 0 number there correspond to Chase being paid what he's owed according to this spreadsheet?
Objection calls for speculation and hearsay.
Overruled.
This column, so the 0 is the sum of the balance column that we were looking at before. We already established that the balance was the what was identified as dollars to Chase, subtracting the payments listed in there. So again, if the payments equal the amount owed to Chase, that was 0. And the grand total sum of this is 0, so yes, this is showing that at the end of the day, Joseph and Chase were squared away. And I do know that Joseph is the author of this document, as well as the last author. That was what was documented by Giuseppe earlier.
Okay. And is there anything else you wanted to point out on this document, or can we go to the next one?
I think we can go to the next one.
Okay, and that would be our 3D, which on the back, the exhibit,
1029.
okay? And what, if we go to the first page of that, and what are we looking at here, and where did you find it?
Very similar story for this document. This is the 2008 version of the same document. Jobs Joseph 2008.xls. It's on the e-machine under the same folder. Fountains, EIP, Chase, Accounting. This one was content last modified. So this was last modified February 3rd, 2009. And if you scroll down just a little bit. Again, creator, which is the author of the document, Giuseppe. Contributor, which is the last author of the document, is Giuseppe.
Now, going back to the, I'm not going to ask to go back to the, you can look at it up there, but the 2007 exhibit that we just looked at, the file where it says content created, and we have a similar line here, content created, on the times of those, I think on the last one, and you can check this, on the last one you indicated that was January 27, 2009, there's actually a time next to it, is that correct?
Yes.
Is there any significance to that date and time as it pertains to this exhibit in 2008?
I can add just a little bit to that. So, both the 2007 and 2008, if you can scroll up just a tiny bit here. Okay, both of these show January 27th, 2009. They actually both read 11:30, 37 p.m. This indicates to me, I know that there was another spreadsheet that didn't specifically have a year on it, that most likely is where these documents came from. It's very common for users, if you have sort of an overall spreadsheet that combines multiple years, if they wanted to separate that out into the year columns, they can create copies of those files, and then label that by year, separating out the data. What that would do is that would mean that the content created is identical for these.
Can you get an idea of whether the creator, in this case you indicated was Giuseppe, is he actually making these spreadsheets at this time, or is he maybe importing them from another area into this file?
Objection calls for speculation.
In this particular case, from the data we're reading here, I can't tell for sure where this was authored, if it was on this machine or another device. I do know that the user is listed as Giuseppe.
Okay, so sticking with 2008, you were saying that, I'll let you finish what you were saying about that.
Okay, if we can, I think we're good with the data about the file
Okay.
at this point, if we want to go to the file itself.
Okay. Is this a similar spreadsheet that we saw in 2007?
Yes, if you look at it, you can see that it appears as though it's got all the same columns: date, client, job total, Chase's dollars, payment 1, payment 2, payment 3, payment 4, and finally balance.
here-
So it seems very similar.
And here we have the job totals where we have a list of jobs, and they range anywhere from a few $100s to $25,000, $29,000. Is that correct?
Yes, on the screen right now, I don't see any that are a few $100s. They're all in the thousands, but yes, ranging from, looks like the lowest I'm seeing is 1,500 to 20. So there's a 1,500 here. There's a almost 30,000 here.
There's an entry on May 2nd, 2008 for a job. If we could just kind of go to that date and then maybe blow it up. Do you see that May 2nd entry?
Yes, I do.
Okay, so it looks like that entry says Laurel, and then it says Provecho Restaurant.
It says Laurel Provincial Rest.
Okay, and then next to it is the job total. That's the job total column, correct?
That's right.
And then the next column is Chase's money, correct?
That's right.
And it says 19,500.
Yes, that's correct.
Okay, and then the series of payments that we saw. First payment, 1463, correct?
Yes,
And then the second payment, 10,000.
that's right.
And then the third payment, 8,037, correct?
That's right.
Okay, and then I guess at the end there's the balance, which is 0, correct?
Yes.
Okay, for that entry. In this case, did those series of payments equal the 19,000 that was Chase's money on that one?
Let's see. So just doing a little bit of quick math here, yes, that is correct. 10,000 plus 8,037 plus 1463 is 19,500.
Okay, and if we go to the bottom of all the totals, the total jobs for 2008 is 342,099.
That's right.
And
Column sum of that.
the second column, which would be Chase's money, would be 224,615.
That's right.
Okay, and then the series of payments, did you add those up to see if it came to a 0 balance?
No, but Excel is configured to automatically do that. The spreadsheet was set up to automatically show the sum of those columns.
Okay, and that has a 0, correct?
The final balance due at the end of the year is 0, so they're squared away.
Okay, And at any given point in this spreadsheet, let's say if we were to stop it after the Perfetto example that I gave you on May 2nd, and before the payments are made to Chase on that job, there would be a balance owed to Chase or to Joseph at any given time, correct? In the series of this spreadsheet?
So simply put,
Speculation lacks foundation.
Sustained.
We'll go to the end. At the end of the spreadsheet, there's a series of these dates and amounts, just like we saw in the last spreadsheet. Is that correct?
yes, that's right.
Okay. And then those payments start on January 7, 2008, and they go. If we turn to the next page on this exhibit. And if we, and those series of payments go all the way to December 2008, is that correct?
Actually, yes, they do, but they actually go even a little bit further than that. The last I'm seeing, I believe, is January 6th, 2009.
Okay. And then did you see that sometimes Giuseppe, the author, would make comments on some of these payments? For example, if we go down towards the bottom on December 1st, it says it says Brian Central paid for feature, never got it, and then exclamation point.
Yes, I see that.
Okay. And then on December 2nd, there's a A1 Metals. Then towards the right it says paid through here on spreadsheet. Below line, is it reflected on spreadsheet yet?
Objection, misstates the exhibit.
I'm sorry, I got the wrong date there. I got the wrong date. A1 Metals, on December 2nd, the $1,550 for A1 Metals. To the right of it, it says overpaid through December 2nd, $9,461.85. Is that correct?
That's what it says, yes.
Okay, and then right next to it, it says Perfetto disaster.
Objection, misstates the exhibit.
Overruled.
Does it say Perfetto disaster?
Yes, it does.
And then next to that, 34,000?
Yes.
Okay. And you don't know what disaster means?
No.
Objection, Your Honor, it leaves out the plus sign.
I understand.
Oh, sorry, plus.
The objection's overruled.
Okay. All right. And then if we go to the next page of this exhibit. There's a box there, is that correct?
Yes.
And then it says overpaid through January 6th, 09. And then it has a series of numbers. Underneath it, Perfetto disaster.
I see
Right.
that.
And then there's a series of dollar amounts. And then it says the last entry, Andrew Levine, 1,000.
Yes, I see that.
Okay. And then it has in the box there, the total is 64,062.
That's right.
Okay. And you don't know what that means, do you?
No, I don't.
Okay. Is there anything you wanted to highlight on this exhibit before we move on?
I just wanted to, if you could go back up to the columns at the very top of the spreadsheet.
Okay.
Just one small point that I do want to mention here. If you go up all the way to the columns, please. Thank you. Okay, so again, as I mentioned, for the 2007 version of the spreadsheet, this spreadsheet runs automatically to a large degree. So the columns of job total, so basically everything from job total over through 4 payments are parts that would have to be entered in manually. So the user would have to actually type in the amounts for those. The balance column over here is completely automatic. It was not designed for user input. So what that means is that if there were payments that were missed or if there were the incorrect payment amounts, then there would absolutely be a balance due on this spreadsheet. That's not a question of user input, that's how the spreadsheet was designed.
Okay. Are you ready to go on to the next one?
Yes, I am.
Okay, and that would be 3E, and if you could just take a look at the number on the back of 3E.
Sure, one moment. Okay, this is 1030.
It'll be the first page again. What are we looking at here?
So, again, although we'll see some a difference once we get into the file here, this is the same basic idea for 2009. Jobs Joseph 2009.xls, location on the e-machine, fountains, EIP, Chase, accounting, similar creation date, content last modified was February 11th, 2009. If you scroll down just a bit, creator is Giuseppe. There is no, in this case, there is no contributor or last author, so we just know that this one is created by Giuseppe.
Okay. Now, the contributor, which you had, I think you indicated earlier, that would be the last person who did something to the document. Is that correct?
Generally speaking, yes.
And it says IE. What does that mean?
Oh, thank you. I was misreading that. IE. So IE is another user account that was that existed on the machines. I can't recall off the top of my head whether that is a user on the HP Media Center or the e-machine, but it's definitely a user within the McStay household as well.
Okay.
Objection, that calls for speculation.
System,
Move to strike.
the last portion of the answer is stricken.
So if we go to, is there anything else on this page you want to point out?
No.
Okay. If we go to the next page, do we have a similar setup on this page?
Yes, the setup again appears to be the same. Date, client, job total, Chase's dollars, payment 1, 2, 3, 4, balance, and notes.
It seems woefully empty. The balance, the rest of the spreadsheet here, compared to the 2007 and 2008, correct?
That's correct. This spreadsheet only has jobs going up to January 10th, 2009. It doesn't show payments filled out or Chase's dollars. It doesn't show payments amount or a balance yet. If you recall the last modified date, though, just a moment ago, this was last modified only in February of 2009. So this was not very far into the year that Joseph had worked on this one.
We have some of this, if we go to the bottom though, we have some of the same entries that we saw in the previous spreadsheet carried forward to this spreadsheet, is that correct?
Similar entries, I'm not sure if they're identical to the last one, but they carry the same format.
Okay. And then, is there anything you wanted to point out about this document more?
No, I think it's, I think we can move on to the next one.
And this document, to be clear, was the last modified date you indicated was February 11th, 2009, correct?
Yes, February 11th.
Okay. Did you find this document, this similar document for 2009 in another location,
Yes, I did.
in a more complete fashion?
Yes.
Okay, where was that?
I found that there was a file stored in Google Drive, which is, and for anyone who's not familiar with it, it is a cloud-based area where you can store files. So, in other words, it's in the internet with Google. You can store your documents, you can store your photos, you can store anything you like in there. And very specifically, Google also has the functionality for you to work on documents, for you to work on spreadsheets. It's something called Google Docs. So I did find a file by this identical name, Jobs Joseph 2009, within Google Drive.
Alright. I'm sorry? If you take a look at 3F and 3G, and tell me if that is the next exhibit that we're gonna go to.
One moment. Yes, it is. That is exhibit 1033.
Okay, and okay, 1033, and let's pull that up. So what are we looking at here?
Okay, so this is actually a part of internet history on this computer. You can see up the very top left corner it says Firefox Web Visits. Under the title, we see the key that I was just talking about, Jobs Joseph 2009. We know that in this particular instance of this internet activity, we know that the user accessed this file, Jobs Joseph 2009, on August 25th, 2009 at 6:08 p.m. Just above that, we have the URL, which basically just means the internet location. So you can see spreadsheets.google.com, followed by a bunch of characters that doesn't really mean anything, but that's just how you would, that's the link that you would use to access this exact file. So this is, searching the e-machine for Jobs Joseph 2009, because I wanted to see if there was a more complete version of the spreadsheet. Rather than finding another spreadsheet on an Excel file that was on the computer, I found this internet history which pointed me to this location, which is shared publicly on the internet, and pasting that URL into a web browser gives the remainder of this exhibit.
Okay, that date, 8/25/09, what does that mean?
That means that this is an example of a time that the user on the e-machine used Firefox to visit this spreadsheet. So to go into this spreadsheet.
Does it reflect when the spreadsheet was worked on, or the last time the spreadsheet was worked on?
It simply is an instance when the user went to the spreadsheet. It doesn't at all reflect that it is the last time or the first time or even that any work was done. It just shows that the user went to the spreadsheet at this time.
And we see below that a device 4.
Correct.
At the bottom, device 4 there, and then again below that, device 4.
Correct. That's indicating that this was found on the e-machine.
Okay. And if we go to the next page. And this is what you were talking about as a more complete version of that 2000 Jobs 2009.
Correct.
Okay. And again, we have the same headers. Might help to blow it up a little.
Yes, we have in almost the same headers. We start with the date, client, job total, Chase's dollars, payment 1, 2, balance. So there's only room for 2 payments in this case. Balance, and then we have Metro / I'm not sure how to say that, DIMIC, DIMIC. 1 payment, 2 payment, 3 payment, balance, and then finally notes.
So the new header on this spreadsheet would be the Metro / DIMIC as compared to the 07 and 08, is that correct?
That's right, that's new.
Okay. If we go to the bottom of this, as to the totals, the job totals for 2009 would be 297,954, is that correct?
That's right.
And then it shows Chase's money, 158,210.
Correct.
And then looks like there's the series of payments, correct?
Yes, there are some payments.
Okay. To the right again, we have the total owed for 2009, and it shows a 0, is that correct?
It shows a 0. This spreadsheet, the payment section of this appears to be incomplete based on the blanks above, but yes, it shows 0.
Okay. Now, you don't know what those blanks above mean, you don't know what the interpretation of that is, do you?
No, I don't.
Okay. And then if we go to the next page, we have, again, these series of payments throughout, looks like 2008 and 2009.
Yes, that's correct.
Okay. Is there anything that you want to point out about any of this?
I believe so. Give me just one moment. If you could just scroll through, actually start at the, oh no, this is good. So scrolling through slowly down, you can see that there are logged consistently payments throughout 2009. Most of them show things that are pretty short descriptions: check, check, pumps, check. Keep on scrolling, please. More check, check. Keep going. Keep going. We're down in March, April, May, June, sort of similar to the same thing. Check, 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 mainly. There's a couple of entries here which show Metro. Scrolling down to the next page. 2013, check to Metro, parts, wood, to you. In October and November, more checks. December 17th, we have one that's a little bit more descriptive: cash, Chase, bank. And then we get to the end of this, which we see payments in January of 2010. Based on the context, I feel it's safe to assume that this is a typo, that was 2010, not 2009. We see a check for $2,500 and a check for $1,650, and that is the January 22nd payments are checks that I was able to confirm within QuickBooks Online records.
Are you talking about Exhibit 7E,
One moment.
which would have an exhibit number on the back?
I believe that's 7B. If you could give me just a moment, I'll
Okay.
confirm that. Yes, that should be 7B, which is Exhibit 1043.
Okay. If we could, if it's possible to do a side by side with, and what's the exhibit number on 7B?
1043.
Okay. What is Exhibit 7? What is Exhibit 7? What is Exhibit, what did you say the number was again? I'm sorry.
That's 7B
Yeah.
and 1043.
What are we looking at in 1043?
This is QuickBooks Online records for the account Earth Inspired Products.
And where was this found?
This was provided to me in discovery from the District Attorney's Office.
Okay. And if we go to page 2 of that exhibit 1043, and if we go to January 22nd date,
Yes.
is that what you were talking about?
Yes. So if you look here at this section with the little highlight next to it, January 22nd.
If we could blow that up, I don't know if we can do it side by side, but. Okay.
I recommend, just for clarity, I think it might make more sense to switch back and forth rather than
Okay, sure.
the side by side, just because
Sure.
there's too much data. Okay, thank you. So, January 2nd, we see activity in QuickBooks for user Joseph McStay, beginning 4:28 p.m. And going through 4:32 p.m. And we see added check, added check, added check, added vendor, and added check. So 4:28 p.m. we see added check, and the entry next to it reads Metro Sheet Metal C. The next two entries also read the same, added check, Metro Sheet Metal, the same for the entry above that. After that we have added vendor, Charles Merritt. And then finally, January 22nd, 4:32 p.m., we have added check to Charles Merritt. So now, maybe if you could go back to the 2009 spreadsheets side by side. Yeah, perfect. Thank you. This information is absolutely consistent with what I am seeing here. There are two checks. I guess I should say there are three checks listed here in QuickBooks Online, but I see two checks on January 22nd here. One that simply reads check. Remember that this is in the financials folder listed for Chase, and we have Chase dollars payments. So check 2,500, and then we have check NGLASS-Metro. And if you could switch back to just viewing the QuickBooks Online, again we see that one of these checks is listed for Metro Sheet Metal.
Okay. Now, just to be clear, this QuickBooks looks like an activity log of some sort, correct?
Yes, that's correct.
It's for the. Do you know which account? Because I believe you indicated earlier there was two QuickBook accounts.
Correct. There were. Joseph had an account called Earth Inspired Products and an account called Custom. This is from the Earth Inspired Products account.
Okay. And did you want to go to 7E now, or did you want to go back to the spreadsheet?
Actually, I would like to go to 7D if that's okay. The cell phone records.
Okay.
There's a correlation there.
Okay. And now, when you say cell phone records, you're talking about Joseph's cell phone records, correct?
That's correct.
Okay. So E, no, D. Okay, yes. What's the exhibit number?
The exhibit number is 1045.
These again are Joseph's cell phone records.
That's correct.
Okay. Do you want to go to page 37 of 50, which is January 22nd?
Exactly, please, yes.
Is this, so we're on page 37 of 50. What are we looking at?
Okay, so there are two highlighted entries in here. Just to remind, these are Joseph's cell phone records, and we can see on January 22nd, 2010, at 16:52, so that's 4:52 p.m. A call is made to Chase Merritt's cell phone.
And it looks like it's 1 minute.
That's my understanding, correct, that this is the call duration, and yeah, so 1 minute call.
So you don't know if there was an actual connection made or a voicemail left or anything like that?
No, I don't.
Okay, but then it looks like there's an incoming call from Chase to Joseph right after that.
Immediately afterward, the next minute, there is a call listed as incoming from Chase Merritt's phone. This one has a call duration listed as 20 minutes.
Okay, and why did you want to highlight that?
I wanted to point out that immediately after the payment was made, I shouldn't say immediately, but shortly after the payment was made, Joseph calls Chase Merritt. According to the QuickBooks Online records, the last item we looked at, which was the added check to Charles Merritt, was at 4:32 p.m. We see a call made at 4:52 p.m., so 19 minutes after the check to Chase Merritt is made, we see a call to him. And that's the beginning of a pattern that I noticed. There is absolutely a correlation between the checks that are issued according to the QuickBooks Online records, followed by calls from Joseph to Chase Merritt.
Okay, so you mentioned a 4:32 time as to the time of the creation of the check. Is that correct?
Let me make sure.
What exhibit is that on?
That is exhibit 1043, which is the 7B we were just looking at. That's the QuickBooks Online records for Earth-inspired products.
Okay, so if we could, can we go to 1043 and you can point out to the jury the time?
Here we go, up just a little bit. So here is the final check that we saw here just after added vendor Charles Merritt, added check Charles Merritt, 4:32 p.m. And then the call was 19 minutes after that.
Okay. Okay, so next, do you want to go back to the spreadsheet, which would be exhibit 3F and G? I'm not.
I think for the time being, it makes. I would like to go to exhibits 3A followed by 3B.
Okay.
Actually, my apologies. 3B followed by 3A.
Okay, on the back again, if you could give us an exhibit number.
One moment. Okay, 3B is 1027.
And 3A?
3A is 1026.
Okay. So you want to start with 3B, I take it, so that would be 1027.
Yes, please.
And what are we looking at here?
This is activity on the e-machine. This is also Google Sketchup activity.
On what date?
This is January 31st, 2010.
Okay, and what are we looking at here?
So this is file activity on the computer related to the program Google Sketchup. And can I just go on to explain?
Yes.
So to remind from my testimony yesterday, on February 4th in the afternoon, there was about an hour's worth of activity also related to Google Sketchup browsing activity. So this is 4 days before that, January 31st. We're looking at the evening. So this activity starts at 8:43 p.m. And if for just a moment you can scroll to the bottom of this, the last activity on here is 9:21 p.m. So we're looking at about 40 minutes of activity here. So this is slightly different from the Google Sketchup activity we were looking at for February 4th. On February 4th, it was browser. We were looking at visits to a site called the 3D Warehouse. In this case, this is the user actually using the program installed on the e-machine, the design tool program installed on the e-machine. So it looks like somebody was using this program over this 40-minute period of time.
Okay. And does that somehow fit with Exhibit 1026?
Yes, it does. I'd like to switch that, but before we do, I just want to point out, we are looking, if you look at some of the files here, so this section that I'm outlining with the pointer right now, from 9:02 to 9:20 p.m., all of the files are under a folder called EIP, Chase, Customers, Fred, and then you have the file names which are Fred with various numbers and letters after them. You see a couple of files that end at .skp. That means that those are Google Sketchup design files.
Is this now you said this was in the evening. I can't see it from here, but if we could blow it up a little so we can look at, is there times associated with this activity, individual times?
Yes, the left-hand column indicates when these files were opened. This particular type of activity that we're seeing on the computer, technically it's called link files. To me as a forensic analyst, that simply means that these are the times that these files were opened on the computer.
Okay, so I think the file name includes Chase in there somewhere, is that correct?
The folder path is EIP, Chase, Customers, Fred.
Now, by looking at Joseph's cell phone record, were you able to determine whether Joseph was talking to someone at that time?
I believe that is correct, if I could...
If we can go to 1045 and go to page 45 of 50. Do you see that?
Yes, thank you, at the very top. Okay.
Can we blow that up a little bit? Okay. What are we looking at here?
Okay, January, so again, the same date as the Google Sketchup activity we were just looking at, with the jobs, Fred, customers, Chase, the path that we were looking at. January 31st at 8:59 p.m. is the first entry. We have a call made to Chase Merritt, and the indication of the address information on the left indicates that this is from the Fallbrook home. Immediately following, not immediately following that, about an hour after that, at 9:56 p.m., we see an entry also to Chase Merritt's cell phone. This is listed as a D, which I believe there's a legend at the very top of this which indicates that that is a text message or data activity, but in this case, text message. Could you actually scroll to the legend at the top so I can see that? I think it's on page 2 or 3 of this
It's on page 350, yes.
Yes, here we go. Scroll down just a little bit more. Call type legend. Okay, very specifically, D is listed as text, SMS, /picture. So that means a text message or a photo being sent or something along those lines, not a call, text messaging activity. Could we scroll back to the January 31st? Okay, so comparing this, we have a call made, again, just to recap, 8:59 p.m. and 9:56 p.m. The Google Sketchup activity that we were just looking at was square in the middle of these two, of this phone call and this text message.
Now, when you said the D section there, you said it's a text, but I saw in the legend, I was just reading it, it said SMS picture or something of that. It says text, SMS, or picture.
Correct. So when I say a text message, I mean what I think of when I send a text message to somebody. It could just be just text, or it could also contain a photo in there as well.
Okay, I'm sorry, go ahead.
No problem. So during this 1 hour period, so that's 8:59 p.m. to 9:56 p.m. The Google Sketchup activity for that we were looking at was 8:43 p.m. to 9:21 p.m. So directly in the middle of this, and again that was the folder path EIP Chase customers Fred.
Okay. Do you now want to go to 3A, or did you want to?
Yes, please 3A.
Okay. And that's 1026.
Correct.
And what are we looking at here?
Okay, so we were just looking at files that were opened from EIP Chase customers Fred, and this is one of the files that was opened during this time period. This particular one is called Fred2E .pdf. It also has some significant timestamps to it. The content was created, so this file was created January 31st, 2010 at 1:20 p.m. And it shows a file last modified of January 31st, 2010, 9:20 p.m. So that is consistent with the files open activity that we just looked at.
And is that associated with any other photos or files that were found?
Well, I mean, if you go to the next page on this, you'll see what this file is.
Okay.
Because the file itself is an image. Can you? Oh, that's fine. Okay, so this PDF this is the PDF that was opened at 9:20 p.m. And this is the contents of the Google Sketchup file that was being worked on at this time, during this time period when Joseph called Chase Merritt. So this is clearly a design document.
And is this similar to any of the photos of fountains that you were able to view?
I was not able. I didn't study fountain photos all that much in my examination, so I couldn't say for sure if this is matching one in particular.
Okay, but whatever this image is, it looks like there's multiple panels or multiple.
Yeah.
Something.
Yes. I mean, just looking at it, you can see that there are panels of different colors. There's sort of a blue section, or an orange section, a white section. It's not clear. There isn't a legend to indicate what that means.
Okay. Okay. Is there anything more about this activity that you wanted to point out?
Give me just a moment, please. No, I think that's everything for this.
Your Honor, would the court like to take the morning recess?
Sure. We'll take our morning recess this time, 15 minutes. Keep in mind the admonitions previously given to you, not to form or express any opinions about the case, not to discuss the case, and we'll see everyone back in about 15 minutes.